Welcome back to the county seat. We are going to continue our discussion of the litigation that has been filed by the state against the Department of Interior on the Secretarial Directive 3310. Joining us for the discussion today is John Swallow. He is the lead deputy, chief deputy for the Utah Attorney General's office and the hands-on guy for the litigation. Representing the federal level or the other point of view is former director of the Bureau of Land Management, Patrick Shea. Pat, thank you for joining us. And for the county level, Mike McKee, County Commissioner from Uintah County. So if this is litigation, John, let's start with you. What prompted the litigation and the basis for you thinking this is a good lawsuit?
Well, you know, we were all surprised on December 23rd when unilaterally, without any really notice, I think we got a phone call a half an hour before the order was issued, we received notice of an order which basically changes the management of very sensitive areas of Utah land, public land. It has a tremendous potential for tremendous impact on our ability to develop our natural resources, provide for the resources for educating our children, and truly, unilaterally, we believe, takes the power that Congress has over designating very sensitive areas that are managed on a non-impairment level here in the state of Utah. If we don't stand up to that and fight for the rights that we have as landowners here in Utah, we'll lose the ability to manage the resources that we have, fund education, and it will lock us out of a lot of our land. So we have no choice at this point but to sue like we did back in the 1990s when the Babbitt Doctrine was introduced, and this is very similar to that, to sue and force the federal government to follow the law and not unilaterally create quasi or virtual wilderness area here in Utah.
Well, now, Director Abbey, current director of the BLM, Pat, says that he feels there's justification for this within the code written in both FLTMA and I'm trying to think of the other citus that he made. What's your perspective on it? I know you've had a chance to read the Secretarial Directive.
Well, I think part of it is the folk story about Burr Rabbit. Don't throw me in that briar patch. The state of Utah seems very prone to spend a lot of money on litigation and get very little results. I was director when the RS-2477 lawsuit started. I told then Commissioner Herbert, who was chair of the Utah Association of Counties, that they were going to spend millions of dollars and they're never going to win, and they haven't won. There's a 10th Circuit decision that's based on a procedural question that Representative Noel says is a victory. I think what we need to do is keep our eye on the ball. And Utah has a lot of very unique geography and topology that we can really use to draw tourists here, which are clean dollars. And I think we can come up with a plan that will make things work economically, but a judge is not going to tell you that. Litigation is just going to be using taxpayer dollars, and rather than spending them on teachers and health care, we're going to spend them on lawyers.
Okay, well, Mike, now the county level is where the rubber meets the road. So, based on the comments you've just heard from these two gentlemen, what's the impact at the county level that you see from both the litigation and from the order?
Well, out in eastern Utah, so much of our economy is tied to the public lands. Only 15% of our property is privately held property. And so decisions that are made on the public lands tremendously affect our economy. And I would respectfully disagree with the aspect of the value of the litigation. Kane County recently filed a lawsuit. I wouldn't say it was a 100% clean win, but you know, it was a major victory on the RS-2477. We challenged the withdrawal of 77 leases. It was deemed to be filed untimely, but still the judge ruled in our favor. And we have to give some pushback to this, because if we don't, we're going to lose these public lands that have typically been multiple use, and there's a higher use that some groups want to have that they deem to be higher of being just simply wilderness. It takes these lands off of the public roles of being able to develop, utilize, being able to extract our natural resources, recreation, and all these multiple uses we've typically been able to utilize them for. So,
John, you're ready to say something here.
Well, you know, I think people need to understand that wilderness is very special land, and the high standard of non-impairment is a very high standard. And people don't understand that even in a national park, you don't have you don't have the same standards of management as you do with wilderness. And so when we talk about wilderness, you just literally can't take a mechanized motor vehicle in there. You can't do hunting and fishing or any kind of development. It's really basically no trace walking in and walking out areas. And those are very important areas of our land. And after a 15-year inventory process, we found nearly 2 million acres in Utah that needed to be recommended to Congress for that, and that's an authority Congress has. What this order does is it gives the executive branch power unilaterally, which they really don't enjoy under our laws, to set aside additional wild land designations and manage those immediately as under the standards of wilderness, which we think potentially could lead to millions of additional acres being tied up, beautiful areas, but taking off the inventory that we can use then to develop and use in a multiple use category. They call it multiple use, but they also manage it as wilderness, which seems very contradictory to us. And so because we haven't been able to get anywhere in negotiations, we felt we had to file a lawsuit and do what we did back in the 1990s and try to resolve this if we can through settlement. If not, we'll move forward in court.
3310, all it does is sets up a process that guarantees public input, and it asks the general, because that's his next position, and the elected official, McKee, that when they come into office, they change things. That's part of the reason they were elected. So you had 8 years when changes that had been made in the Clinton administration were changed by the Bush administration. It's natural when you have an election to have some reevaluation of what was done by your predecessor. So yes, we had 15 years of a partial evaluation, but for future generations, I remember I took my grandmother, who great-grandfather had started Emery County in Huntington, Utah, and we went up Huntington Canyon, and she was showing me where the family homestead was. And we came around the corner, and there was Hunter 1, the power plant, and she was just shocked. And we need to begin thinking of how this vast resource we have of open space is going to be seen not just one generation, but 3 or 4 generations down the road. That's all this does. It doesn't lock up the land. It sets up a process where the public can participate.
Well, but a lot of people would argue how much is enough, and I've got that sense that you want to say something.
Actually, I'm kind of chomping at the bit here. You know, the resource management plans are a tool that the BLM uses that plans for the next 15 or 20 years. We went through these resource management plans, and one of the criteria that was used there was an evaluation of wilderness. 2 additional years were utilized to be able to make this full evaluation. That evaluation happened. You know, this isn't just a Bush administration or a Clinton administration. It was weighed against the 1964 Wilderness Act, all the criteria of wilderness. We have books this thick where we have GPS points where that analysis has been done. And BLM ultimately found some of the area found to have wilderness quality. Other areas were found not to have wilderness quality. And, you know, it either has it or it doesn't. And what is happening now is it's like we didn't get what we want here, so let's try it again and do it all over again. But what's going to be different if you're measuring it against the same criteria?
But that's like asking a BYU fan to design the plays for the University of Utah football team.
And this is my problem. If you go through a process and you go through a resource management plan, the government spends millions and millions of dollars, the counties spend millions and millions of dollars. There's got to be some predictability and some certainty. And if it's just going to be a yo-yo every time there's a new election, then let's not waste our time with resource management plans, and let's just go some other process. But there's got to be some predictability and certainty as we move forward.
Well, we've run right up against the clock, so we're going to take a break. We'll come back. When we return, we will be discussing areas of wilderness that have already been established and the impact 3310 might have on it. Stay with us. We'll be right back on the County Seat.
If you look up epic in the dictionary, it's defined as heroic, majestic, or impressively great. Here in Kane County, Utah, we don't need a dictionary to tell us that. We live it every day. Stop reading about life and start experiencing it in Kane County. ATV adventures, jeep excursions, hike a world where the Old West was yesterday and tomorrow is just over the horizon. Kane County, Utah, where epic is more than just a word, it's our way of life.
Almost 45% of the oil produced in Utah, 7.8 million barrels, comes from Duchesne County. That oil feeds our state economy, provides job growth, and supports local business. Here in Duchesne County, we're working to make Utah an economic, cultural, and technological leader. Whether you're here for business or pleasure, Duchesne County will welcome you with open arms and invite you to explore all the beauty of the Uintah Mountains. Duchesne County, close enough for business, far enough to get away.